That's really wild. You mentioned that about recurring dreams and whatnot, because apart from the odus and things that we're gonna go over, kind of going over, interpretation, recurring dreams. Some of the dreams that I had, I think some of the biggest decisions I actually ever made in my life were based off of a dream, and there's a really crucial one actually.
Really?
Yeah, I remember. I had just gotten 𝘃𝗿𝗍 done. Right, I was going through my 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗍, my year in white, me and mom, and back then, my responsibilities were less, so I used to nap in the middle of the day or wake up in the afternoon. And I was like, I'm tired. But, it was like a non-parent tired. So you think you're tired, but you don't know what tired is until you possibly make some people.
Right.
And I fell asleep. And I'll never forget, I was in the dream and I was climbing a mountain with my father. And I was like, yo, what are we doing right now? And I kind of looked around. I imagined it was like, the Appalachians or anything. Whatever mountain range was just very intimidating. I'm like, what are we doing, And we were going up this mountain, and, we were in full, like, mountain gear and stuff like that. And we get to, I guess, the apex, right? And when we get there, there's, like, an entrance into a cave, right? And I look at Dad. I said, Dad, let's go in there and see what resources we can find, because we've been climbing this whole time and all these other things. And he was like, I can't go with you. My journey ends here. You're meant to go forward, not me. And I looked at him and I said, I don't want to go without you. You know what I'm saying? We did this together. He's like, no, I was just meant to get you here.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, man. So, I respected his wishes and I walked into the darkness, right? And I remember when I walked into the cave, I saw things that were about Ifa, right? Like I saw green and yellow necklaces. I saw the tray of Ifa, the horsetail, the deer horn, all the things that we use in the 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 practice. And I remember just looking around and being so fascinated. I'm like, bro, this is like the Cave of Wonders, right, from Aladdin. And I remember at that point I woke up. And when I woke up, it was one of those things where I was sleeping face up and I was staring at the ceiling, but I couldn't feel like I could really hear anything. But I heard a voice say, sell your car. And I was like, man, this is so weird, man. And I kind of just sat in my room. My mother didn't even know I was awake. My grandmother didn't even know I was awake. And I was just sitting there. And I'm like, what does this all mean? And then, I started trying to put things together and piece it together. And I said, I'm going to sell my car and use the money to do Ifa, right? Because I actually had been gifted a car by my dad, ironically. It was a brand new Toyota Corolla S. I'll never forget it. I used to drive Uber in it when I was going through my year in white. And I remember I left my room and I went up to my mother. I was 22 at the time. And I said, Mom, I'm going to sell the brand new car that Dad got me to pay Ifa to do Ifa. And, Mom looked at me. She was watching Law and Order. And she flipped out. She was like,
what?
She was like, yo, we just spent all this money to do Santo. You said you were going to chill out for a little bit. This, that, and the third. And I said, Ma, I just had this dream. I just appraised the car. You know what I'm saying? It goes for like 10 racks or something like that. Padrino told me this much for the Ifa. I could come up with the rest. And, I'll buy you a car. And I had it all mapped out within like 2 hours. So she's just looking at me and my grandmother's like, he lost his mind. And I'll never forget, man, like 2 weeks later, I actually drove down to Miami to show the car to a guy that I was advertising it to on Craigslist.
Oh, Craigslist.
He was a veteran. Yeah. I think he was a Marine or something like that. Met his father. They drove the car around. He was looking for a vehicle for his wife. Now that he was stationed and things like that. We went to the bank. We did the wire. We did the registration, all these different things. And the ironic part about it is the Bank of America, where we met up at, was around the corner from my godfather's house. And I looked at them and I said, you guys have been so kind to me. This has been possibly the smoothest transaction of my life. Not that I had many before then. And I said, could you please do me the favor of dropping me off at my godfather's house 5 minutes from here? And they looked at me and they said, yeah, sure. So I hopped in their trunk and they dropped me off and I never saw them again. And I remember I walked up to my godfather's door and I knocked on the door. He was not expecting me at all. He didn't know I was there. Ironically, now I was without a vehicle. And when he opened the door, his eyes were like owls. Like he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I just handed him a fat white envelope, and I said, "I'm doing Ifa." And he looked at me. He's like, "Oh, are you misbehaving again? I told you." And I said, "I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not misbehaving. But I'm ready." And I remember that night we put the date. It was flawless. It was completely flawless. I think that happened when I was 10 months into Ochung. And I finished my 𝗹𝗶𝗸𝗲 in October, right? And then I did Ifa in December. Like my Ifa birthday just passed in December. Wow. So all of that just based off of a dream. So the reason I open up with that is because I still get emotional about that till this day, because sometimes we don't realize a lot of the information that we need as human beings is within us, ingrained already. Dreams are so important and so huge. I mean, when we talk about a process such as sleep, right, where we're able to relax, where our spirit separates from our body, being that our body needs rest, but not the spirit, and we're able to delve into our subconscious, right, and have that cerebral fluid flush that occurs every evening, ideally. You know, there's so many key things there that we could glean from to be able to get real information that could have a life-changing effect on us.